Hi everyone, this video is about how I make brown stew chicken. I'm trying to hurry up and get this started, get the chicken on the stove cooking before I have to start getting the kids ready for the day and before I have to get ready for work. So right now I'm starting off with about 12 pounds of chicken wings that has been cut into sections, washed with fresh lime juice and vinegar, and I have a video about how I wash chicken, and it's just ready for me to season it. I didn't get to season it last night and have it marinating overnight. I got home really late, close to 10 o'clock, and I was really tired. So this morning I'm just gonna have to season it before, right before cooking, and it's gonna taste good all the same, you know, really and truly. So right now I'm starting off with about a teaspoon of jerk seasoning, and people don't usually put jerk seasoning in their curry. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean curry, I mean stew chicken. They don't usually put jerk seasoning when they're stewing chicken. But in my video about how I make curry chicken, I mentioned that I do use the jerk seasoning because we as Caribbean people, West Indian people, the same thing, we make something called green seasoning. Some of us do, and some of us chop up the vegetables fresh as we're cooking the food, but a lot of us make a green seasoning with the herbs and the spices, and we season our meats with that. But I didn't have time to do it, and I'll probably make some this weekend, but right now I didn't have time to do it, and so I'm going to use jerk seasoning. I would have normally used a little bit more than this teaspoon of the jerk seasoning, but this particular one that I'm using is a hot and spicy one, and so I don't want the food to be too spicy. I usually use mild, and I ran out of the mild, so that's why I'm having to use less of the jerk seasoning. I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to add this Lipton Recipe Secrets onion soup mix. It has 2 packets in there. I'm going to use both packets, and this is going to serve as my sodium for the chicken. The jerk seasoning has some sodium in it, so I want to be careful about all of the levels of sodium that I'm putting in this meal. So this is going to serve as my sodium, and I'll taste the food as it's cooking to determine if it has enough salt. But oftentimes when I use 2 packs of these plus some jerk seasoning, I don't usually have to add salt. I'm going to cut about 4 large cloves of garlic. Well, mince 4 large cloves of garlic, and I'm going to add it to this. I'm going to add this red bell pepper to it. I'm going to cut up the entire thing, minus the seeds, but I'm going to add the entire thing to season the chicken. And I wanted to say that you can use green bell pepper, but I prefer the red. I find that the red bell pepper have like a sweeter flavor. I think it has a better flavor, whereas the green bell pepper doesn't have much flavor. But you can use either one, it's your preference. But I'm gonna use red for this recipe. Stew chicken has it's a savory dish, but it has a bit of sweetness to it, and I find that the red bell pepper marries well with the other flavors. I'm going to cut up about 5 stalks of green onion, scallion. This is a medium-sized sweet onion. I'm going to peel and cut up the entire thing into this. I'm going to slice and dice about 2 tomatoes and add to this. I prefer to use the Roma tomatoes, but whatever tomatoes you have on hand is fine. And now I'm going to add a few sprigs of thyme. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of browning. So I've added everything that I wanted to add to this seasoning mix, and I'm just going to mix it all up and with my hands. And I'm wearing gloves again because I like to wear long fingernails, and I wear the gloves for sanitary purposes. Okay, the chicken's all seasoned, and I'm gonna take it over to the pot. But before I get it into the pot, I'm gonna show you something. Right now, I have a really large pot that's heated up with about a tablespoon of oil, and never mind the scratch marks in the pot. You can tell I cook a lot. I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of sugar to the pot, and what it's going to do is it's the heat, the oil, it's going to caramelize the sugar, and that's also going to help to brown the chicken. And I know some people might ask, why am I using sugar to brown the chicken if I already put some browning? If you notice, I didn't use a lot of browning sauce to the chicken. It's a lot of chicken, and I didn't use a lot of browning. I just added a little bit. So this is maybe about 2 tablespoons of sugar, and you don't have to use white sugar. You can use brown sugar, but I use the white sugar. And if you notice, it's starting to turn brown. It's starting to caramelize. And what I wanted to do is I want the majority of the sugar to turn that dark brown color. I don't want it to turn black, because if it turns black, that means it's burnt. And that's funny, because of this process of caramelizing the sugar, it's called burning sugar. But we don't really want it to be black and actually burnt, because if that happens, then it's going to ruin your dish. Your whole dish is going to be, it's going to have a real bitter flavor to it. So we want it to just be a nice dark, rich, dark brown color, and all of the sugar is not going to get to that color before it's time to add the chicken. You see that? It's starting to get really brown, and it's starting to smoke, but I don't want it to get black, so I'm going to go get the chicken and I'm going to add it to the pot. So I have the chicken in the pot, and that brown caramelized sugar is going to start to brown the chicken. And I didn't add any water to the pot yet. I'm going to let it just let the chicken release some of that water on its own, and I'm going to turn it a few times so that some of the pieces get brown. It's not all going to be completely brown right away. That'll take place while it's cooking, but we just want to get a few of the pieces turning brown before I add the water. You see this? So this is one of the pieces that was at the bottom, and the caramelized sugar was starting to turn it brown. So I just wanted to turn the chicken a little bit just for you to see that it's starting to caramelize the chicken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the pot for a little bit, and I'll be right back. I just wanted to show you that it's been about 5 minutes since I added the chicken to the pot. And you see all that bubbling? That's the sugar and some of the water from the chicken. I didn't add any water to the pot yet. The chicken has been on the stove for about 30 minutes on high temperature. And you see how brown it's getting. You see that gravy that is forming. I still haven't added water to the pot. And I'm going to let it cook for another 15 minutes or so before I add some water. So the chicken has been cooking for about a good 40 minutes. Sorry, the steam got into the camera. Been cooking for a good 40 minutes. I'm going to add a sauce to it. Okay, here's a sauce that I like to use. I like to add it to my stewed chicken. And I don't know anyone else who does it. I'm the only person who I know does it. If anyone else uses it, I'd be interested in hearing. But I use this sauce in my stewed chicken. Why? Because I used it by accident one day, and when I was making stewed chicken, and it tasted so good, so I've been using it ever since. So because this is about 12 pounds of chicken, I'm going to use maybe about half this bottle, and I'm going to add it to the chicken and then add a little bit of water. and this will help to make my gravy. But if you look, the gravy is already thick. It's already nice and brown. Chicken is browning, but this is going to add a nice flavor. All right, y'all. I added the sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add about maybe a cup and a half of water. I'm going to eyeball it because this is my first time measuring ingredients whilst I'm making stew chicken. So I didn't really know how much I add. I usually just eyeball, but I'm going to try about a cup and a half and see if that's what the measurement is. I added the water, and it was about a cup and a half for this large amount of chicken. And I added pepper. This time I added a habanero pepper. I didn't have any Scotch bonnet, so the habanero is okay. We just want to let it shrivel up but not actually burst, because that will make the chicken too hot. And if you want, what you can do is slice the pepper and remove the seeds, because it's the seeds that really will make the dish hot. So you can remove the seeds, but I didn't. I just put the whole pepper in, and I'll remove it when it's all shriveled. But here is the chicken in the gravy, and I'm just gonna reduce the fire to maybe a medium temperature, and it's going to reduce a little bit and thicken up. And you see this chicken here, it's going to turn a little bit more brown by the time I turn off the pot and let it sit for a little bit. So don't worry if you see any white spots on the chicken, meaning parts that doesn't look like it got caramelized. Alright, y'all, so the chicken is almost done, and I just wanted to show y'all what it looks like. I have it on a reduced fire, so on low, and the gravy's just thickening up a little bit. I'm gonna go finish getting ready for work, and I'll just turn off the stove on my way out the door. This is something that I do in the mornings. If I don't have time to cook in the evening, I get home pretty late at night, so sometimes I do have to cook in the morning while I'm getting the kids ready for school and trying to get myself ready for work. And I just shut off the fire on my way out, and then when the kids come home from school, there's a home cooked meal that their dad is able to plate for them, you know. So even though mom comes home 9-10 o'clock at night, sometimes there's a home cooked meal waiting for them when they come home from school. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I realized that this is not the traditional way for making stewed chicken. It's just my way. I've had to take shortcuts. I'll make a video about why I do shortcuts with my cooking methods. Some of you are already aware of my family situation, and I've had to learn how to make shortcuts to accommodate our life. Please like and subscribe, share this video. Thank you. Oh, and I'd like to add, go ahead and check out my Instagram. I have pictures of finished products when I cook meals, and it's all plated. So check out my Instagram, please, and you'll be able to see some of my finished work.